Hey friends, random stream here. Yeah, I'm just gonna do this live and give my honest opinions about this new app that's coming from a longtime Webflow community member. He has done a ton of work for the community. He has shown the power of what is possible by pushing the extreme. I mean, the most extreme limits possible with Webflow. It still boggles my mind how he was able to do this kind of stuff. Like first he did like a PlayStation menu UI not fully working, but not to the point where you actually play video games on it. But speaking of video games, he also built a civilization game in Webflow and got to talk to some of the creators of that video game because of what he did. It's like how many divs did he have to fiddle with in order to make these things happen? But he is embarking in another big journey, bigger than those two projects. You may have seen him around, but his name is Sarkis. So Sarkis, welcome.
Welcome. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah. So you've shown me or talked to me a while back about this thing called Restep,
Yeah.
and I was like, interesting. This could be a thing, but like, you know, how can something that's automated teach me how to do things? Because right now on my YouTube channel, I'm like, here's how you do stuff. It's on YouTube,
Yeah.
and like you do this, and this, and hopefully you learn. And a lot of people, even with Webflow education videos, it's like, okay, I'm gonna press play and then pause, press play and then pause, and try to follow. So I kind of set it up for you. Give the people who are watching live now or the recording, give them the elevator pitch of what is Restep.
I appreciate you. So you see what you just said earlier? I don't know how he did that. That's what Restep is. It shows you exactly how to do any of that stuff. And that's the reason why this actually started just a few weeks after I dropped Civilization 6 in back in 2020. And I met my partner in
Well, you
crime.
didn't make the video game. You made a website based on the video
Yeah,
game that kind of acts like the video game.
yeah. I
Okay.
recreated the whole UI and UX, and which is kind of hilarious because when you go to Stack Overflow, some people actually it was so realistic. They went through it and they thought it had actual gameplay, and they were upset when it wasn't. Like, so there is a certain fourth wall you got to be careful when you're breaking when you're building prototypes. So it was fun to build it, but I remember that whole year the number of people messaging me saying, how do I do this or how do I do that? It just, you start to realize that other than some surface level introductions, if you try to go any deeper than that, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Like you have to start tapping into your skills. And so there was no way of actually sharing skills directly with somebody.
Yeah.
And so when I met my partner in crime, Mitsos Karavias in Greece, he reached out to me originally as a client project. And then we became partners and friends, and we started building the future of education, in our opinion. So I can't wait to share it with you. In a nutshell, the best way to learn isn't by reading, watching, or listening. It's by doing. And with
Yes.
Restep, what you can do is you can capture and interactively share your workflows. Anything you do within your favorite products with anyone, step by step, directly on their device. So
Yeah.
the best way to show this is to just do it with you now.
Yeah. And I'm going to give you my honest opinions.
Let's go for it.
Okay. Go ahead and share your screen. And Michael and the Mesh from Flowwalker's community.
Hey guys.
Welcome.
We were talking to them yesterday, so it's awesome to get their feedback as well.
Yeah.
All right. So here we are. This is Restep now running. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. So here's Restep running directly within Webflow right now. We embed Restep within products with a line of code. So in this case, we just pasted the line of code directly into the console, and that's how we're running it. So this is the stream.
Hold on. So this is for people who want to learn. So what is you pasted it into console? What do you mean?
So here, if you go to inspect and you go into your console, so this is where you can basically put custom code into your project.
Locally though.
Locally, yes.
Yes.
So
Okay.
in this case, before a company integrates us into their product, we can just already run Restep there on that individual page by just pasting our embed code directly into the console. So here we already have Restep running. So in the stream, at the top, you get your metrics for that platform. So in this case, there are 17 Resteps in 2 courses that we've created for Webflow for this demo. And in total, they've been run 94 times, those Resteps. So now we have an introduction of FinSuite attributes, and we have an introduction of Webflow elements. So let's jump into the second one. At the top, we have an overview of the course and the associated metrics. So how many minutes, for example, is it going to take to do the whole course on average? How many Resteps are there, so on and so forth. And then as you scroll down, you get a preview of all the individual Resteps, all the things you can learn to do, all the interactive guides and walkthroughs. So which one would you want to learn?
Let's start from the first thing. Like pretend I want to pretend that I'm a Webflow noob. I've never used
There you
Webflow. I've used GeoCities
go.
and Yahoo Pipes. That's it.
There you go. So before we even jump into this course, Nelson, you can actually scroll down and open up this chapter. So in this case, the whole course is just one chapter. It has 14 steps, gives you a little overview. And then before you even start, you can actually see a description of every single step.
Yeah.
To give you full context of where you're about to go, right? This is amazing for documentation.
Yeah.
Now we all know that the best way to learn isn't by reading, it's by doing.
Yeah.
Or in this case, having it done for you. So here at the top, you have your chapter.
Hold on, let me move our
Yep.
videos. Can I?
Yep.
How do I customize? Oh, position. Okay. Let me put it at the top left. There we go.
All right,
Cool.
good to go?
Yep.
So at the top, we have the chapter dropdown. It highlights the current step that you're on and all the steps that are about to come. Great for context when you're learning. The second part is where the current step resides. This is what we're about to do. And then we have the toolbar at the bottom. So now when we click play, Restep just takes control of my browser, goes straight to the add panel, and adds the container straight to the page. I didn't do anything.
Okay.
Then it applies a class to it, changes the max width, so on and so forth. At any point, if I'm confused about a particular step, I can just go straight to the Copilot and have a conversation about it.
Oh, here we go.
There you go. What's the difference between a rich text element and a paragraph element, for example?
Yeah.
And that's it.
See, this was the part when you first showed me. I was like, how is this going to teach the why? And you first showed me before AI was like a trend, right? So you've been working on this for years.
Yes.
And so I remember having a conversation with you, like, and I was like, okay, step by step, but what if like someone needs to know the why? And now with AI, I think you've unlocked that because it's like, I have a question, like, and that was the thing that my wife was having problems with when she was learning HTML back in her college days, a long, long time ago. It was Dreamweaver days.
Yeah.
And the teacher was like, use this code, just copy it from the book and put it there. And she would be like, but why? And as a professor of a class, like you don't have time to explain each and every why of every piece of code. But with this and with AI helping you explain the why, holy shit.
Exactly. And now here's another holy shit moment for you. When you click on the Thunderbolt, let's say this is a repetitive task, right? We just explored education. That's just the tip of the iceberg. But what about a whole other mode of using Restep? What if I just want to capture all the things I do in Webflow as, things I do for my clients, for example, right? And I just want to automate that whenever I start a new project. Maybe it's like setting up a style guide, for example, right? Why do I have to do that over and over again for every project? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the perfect workflow. I'm going to go ahead and save that as a Restep. And then I'm going to click on the Thunderbolt and auto run it and just sit back and let it do everything from start to finish in seconds.
Wait, what? I'm confused. What is the Thunderbolt versus the play button? Because isn't play just doing the same thing?
No, the play button goes at your pace. You go step by step, one by one, by clicking.
Oh, so you
Audio
have to press
does everything.
play for each step,
Yes,
and
with
then
the
the
play button.
lightning bolt is more like an autoplay.
Exactly.
Okay, so I guess the lightning bolt icon confuses me.
Hmm. Why is that?
Um, ooh, well, damn, I get confetti.
There you go.
Um, yeah, the lightning bolt icon confused me a bit because, but then again, I guess lightning bolt means fast, and so if you want fast mode, but
Mhm.
then I don't know, I'm just being nitpicky, but like a fast forward icon makes more sense to me than a lightning bolt. But hey, I'm
Yeah,
just one person, you know.
yeah, it could be. Fast forwarding is a way to do it too. We consider that option. We just felt that the icon might be conflicting a little bit with the play button. So
Yeah,
it resembles too much of like video controls in that case. But these are just two of the
yeah.
modes. The third one, so if you go to our website, guys, restep.io, you can get a sneak peek of the most important mode that's going to be coming out soon is
Hmm.
interactive mode. So in this case, Restep highlights where you're supposed to be clicking and you do it yourself
Yeah.
like this. So this is a third mode. And then in addition to that, we have another feature that's coming out called rewatch. So if you missed a step, for example, you could just go
Yeah.
back, do that, and do it one more time.
You could rewatch the step that you were on.
Yes, you can redo it, essentially, yes.
Yeah.
So if you think about, one of the things that we're integrating now is FinSuite attributes, right?
Hmm.
So if you go into like the CMS slider, look at what they're doing. Step one, I want you to copy
Yeah.
this. Then I want you to go to like, why do I have to go through all of this when I can just do it,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
any questions so far before I move on?
No, it's making sense. Like, cause I've been here. A lot of people have been here. We go to FinSuite, and then we're like, okay, it's confusing. Okay, I implement it. Something's not working. Let me use their automated troubleshooting tool by
Yes.
adding a query string.
Mhm. Now comes the more exciting part. So
Okay.
these are the three modes I just showed you. There's numerous other modes. So there's certification and testing, for example, where Restep can tell you what to do, but it doesn't highlight it and it doesn't do it for you. So it says create a div block, for example. It knows definitively how a div block needs to be created
Yeah.
and how to access it. So if you click anywhere else, it already knows you made a mistake.
Yeah.
So there's no way to cheat the system. This isn't like a multiple question
It's like
certification system.
taking a driver's test.
Yes, exactly. And so this is going to be great for enterprise level all the way down to, let's say, Webflow certifications.
Yeah.
Where right now there's so many ways to kind of work around it because, hey, it's multiple question. It's like
Yeah.
there's only
Yeah.
so many
The
ways.
Webflow certifications, you can really, it's easy to cheat. I mean, it's a
Exactly.
take home quiz. You can,
Yeah.
you can Google it. You can AI the answer. So it's not
Exactly.
that easy. It's not that hard to get certified.
Exactly. Now it
Yeah.
will be though. I don't know if the
I
community's
mean,
going to hate me for that,
you want to
but
know if people really know. Like, if
yeah.
someone is going to build your website, it's like someone who's going to build an extension to your apartment or your home, or fix your car. You want to know that they know what's going on rather than cheating on a test and saying, yeah, I know where the nail goes, and
Yeah.
I know how to use this thing.
Have you ever turned on a car before? It's like, I want to be confident that you know what you're doing.
Exactly.
But Michael actually asked a really good question. He said, so this seems to essentially be an interactive macro setup. And the answer is no. It's so much better. Let me explain.
Okay.
The way that Restep works is before we actually wanted to be a Chrome extension and try other ways of running this
Yeah.
on top of products. So we could just kind of scale, right?
Yeah.
Until we realized that it just doesn't work like that. Number one, there's a lot of restrictions in the Chrome store. So one thing, a simple example would be we cannot paste custom code into Webflow using a Chrome extension. It's impossible. So they're just adding more and more restrictions every year because there's so many abuses happening in the store. So we don't want to end up like Zynga did with Facebook. Where it's like, hey, Farmville runs all on Facebook's API, and then Facebook changes one thing and their entire multi-million-dollar business just goes
So
completely
many
tank.
farms lost.
So many farms lost, right? So many hungry cows out there. So what I'm saying is, with us, we realize that the only way to do this correctly, which nobody else is doing, no one's even probably thinking about, because they just want to be as open and sort of independent as they can be,
Yeah.
and take a lot of shortcuts to try to create some sort of like generic sort of onboarding experiences and playful things like that.
Yep.
What we do is we embed with one line of code directly into the product, and then our system is able to keep track of everything happening inside of Webflow, all the elements. So in this case, we call it mapping in Restep. So
Yeah.
we've mapped all of Webflow into Restep. So now every element that's there is in our system. So when something changes, we're able to detect that instantly and automatically reroute that step to the element. So, for example, the undo redo buttons used to
Yeah.
be in the bar. You'll
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now it's not there anymore. Half the community doesn't know where those buttons are.
Yeah.
I don't think you might not even know where they are.
I I just press the keyboard, the hotkey. I don't look for them. So maybe that's
But
why like they moved it. But like, how does your system? That's what I was gonna ask next. It was like UI changes all the time. That is why Webflow education videos cannot keep up.
exactly.
So how do you keep track of those elements when they move?
That's why we spent 4 years building this. So the engine is able to keep track of the whole tree, the whole DOM. And so the element, the ID, there's so many ways that we keep track of what one element represents in the DOM, right? So when you go into, for example, let's say you move this element into another dropdown, it still understands the relationship in the tree. So this is the folder, this is the parent, this is the child. So in this way, our system is able to automatically go and highlight where the other element is. So this is beautiful for you, Nelson, because all of these workflows you've been creating, maybe 5 years from now, Webflow completely changes.
Yeah,
So now
it
what do you do?
will. I mean, software
Oh,
always changes.
yeah, it's always going to change in 5 years, especially.
Yeah.
Well, those resteps are going to be running as if you just launched them yesterday,
Okay.
because it's going to be automatically highlighting all these elements and doing it for you. There's nothing to be confused about. And then if a particular element doesn't exist anymore, let's say they
Mhm.
just outright remove the button,
Yeah.
then the system can detect that too and send
AKA logic.
logic, right?
Yeah.
Send a notification to the Webflow team saying these particular resteps that relied on this step have been locked temporarily, so we don't have a bad experience for these users, so they don't hit a dead end basically,
That's cool.
until you go and update that particular step in your system.
Hmm.
And that's how it works. So macro and all these other tools, to answer Michael's question, they are nothing like Restep. What macro does is, first of all, for those who don't know what macro is, it's a desktop application, so it doesn't even run in your browser. What they're doing is they're basically keeping track of the resolution of your screen. They're trying to essentially use different methods of tracking you somehow without actually understanding the product.
Yeah.
So if your resolution is off, or you
Yeah.
click something that it's already broken. Macros don't make any sense for education automation.
Yeah.
It's good for something like
It's good for education, but it's not good for automation. It's not scalable.
It's not scalable.
Yeah.
And so then you look at other tools out there. There's Arcade, there's Chameleon, there's this and that. All of these tools, like if you look at arcade.software, for example, what they're doing is essentially creating like an interactive PowerPoint presentation that you can embed into your documentation. Say, well, here's how you can do this, right? Sort of a slide-based approach. And then you have Scribe. What is Scribe doing? It's a Chrome extension that essentially takes a screenshot of each place that you click. So let's take, any simple workflow in Webflow. It's going to be 200 snapshots of something you're trying to describe.
Yeah.
This is not the way. It's still static by nature.
So I think that is the magic sauce right there, of learning of a tool, automatically learning a tool. And now the next, removing things, like if a feature, like sadly logic memberships, those go away. IX1 is still in the product. IX2 is gonna go away, hopefully, and we get green GSAP and then have a whole new experience. But then what happens when a new feature comes out?
So when a new feature comes out, that's a great opportunity, A, for the team to use that to demo their new products? What's a like how think about quick stack and some of these new features that came out in Webflow recently and people
Yeah.
still don't know how to use them. So how
Oh, I
cool
don't
would it
use
be?
that.
Exactly. No one uses quick stack. Shout out to anyone who does. So if you had quick stack come to, hey, introducing quick stack, and you just click on that feature and it just runs a restep showing you exactly how to use this, that would not only be great for onboarding,
Yeah.
it would also be great for everyone to keep track of everything that's actually coming.
Yeah.
So Resteps essentially serve as a Wikipedia for skills. It's the one place where you can have a
This is
repository
cool.
of everything everyone has ever done in Webflow. And then our AI is able to master that and actually understand what Nelson did and what Sako did and everybody else.
Yeah.
And then you can go into a prompt and just say, how do I do this?
Yeah.
And it can generate a restep for you on the fly and say, here's how you do it.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's guessing or something, it's actually learning from geniuses in the community. So it's like,
How's it
because
learning?
because in the same way that an AI has to play millions of games of chess to become a good chess player, we are essentially treating Webflow as another game of chess. So each time you run a restep, our system is actually training itself to understand why you're running it. Why are you clicking on a div block? Why did you open a section element? Whatever. So fundamentally, what I'm saying is that Restep will understand Webflow better than any one of us ever could.
Damn, son. Well,
So
to help bring people up to speed, I know it's a random stream, random time, but Underdog Studio, what is Restep?
yeah, let Nelson
Yeah.
describe it after everything I just said.
Yeah. I mean, basically, it's a tool that just teaches you how to use software. And for this first instance, Sarkis has made how to use Webflow. Starting from the easiest thing is like, what is a container? How do you place the container? And it's not a macro. It's an actual tool that takes you into Webflow and does things for you on your screen as if you're doing them, as if you had a teacher using your mouse over your shoulder and showing you what to open, what to click, what to drag, how to use the styles panel. It does all of that. It's a virtual teacher, basically. Sarkis, give us one more demo,
There you go.
and I think that'll be a great way to end this out because yeah,
Well,
this could be the future.
there is a one more thing. So
Okay.
you saw a restep running through, from here, right?
Okay.
You go into the stream and everywhere else. But what if you could also embed restep anywhere you want? So if you go to the add panel, you'll notice there are these little triggers that we've added on these elements.
Okay.
So instead of clicking on the question mark and getting, this sad little description in a video,
Yeah.
which means nothing to me in the context of actually learning this tool.
Yeah.
It's like use the quick stack element to create and control layouts based on CSS grid. Okay, first of all, every single one of these words to someone who's never used Webflow, is a complete new territory. Like,
Yeah.
I'm lost before I even started.
Yeah.
In the case of Restep, I could go and just come here, click on our little gold reticle, just hover over it, and it just runs a restep right in the DOM for that particular element. Here's how you use section elements in 21 steps. Look at that, add a section element. This will serve as a container for everything we create next. Then apply this. Why? Because correctly naming elements will help you easily find, target, and manage them. Then we're gonna go ahead and change display, right? So we're talking plain English here.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't get simpler than that. So it's just doing it for me. And I can just come back, by the way, I can just pause and come back to this later. We have a whole progression system already built into Restep.
Damn.
So imagine integrating this into Webflow University, where we basically built Webflow University 3.0. So you go into the course and instead of just like, hey, watch the course, it actually says run it.
And you can deep link, like I'm thinking as a customer support person, people are like, oh, how come I can't center this? text, or I can't center this content, you know?
Yeah.
That's what a lot of beginners try to do. What they try to do is like use position absolute and think it's like Figma, or they
Yeah.
use margins on the left and right. And you have like negative 2000 on the right and then positive 1000 on the left, like something ridiculous.
Yeah.
So can I hot link to any of these tutorials, these what do you, to these
Yes.
resteps?
Yes, you can. Not only that, you can
Nice.
actually, our system can be fully white labeled. You can take our API, design anything you want. So, for example, you could create your own directory of resteps. You don't have to use our pop-up or modal or any of that stuff. And to answer Michael's question also regarding, what about software where you can't embed custom code? That's actually an interesting question. So right now we are only for online. We run in the browser because that's the fastest way to get to market. But we are going to have native desktop and mobile applications too that are going to be coming out in the coming years, and you will be able to embed Restep into Photoshop, into Excel, into all of these products. Which, by the way, for people who don't know, Excel is the number one software on earth. It's run by over 1 billion people, so every day. So if you just embed Restep into one product like that, that's it. You don't even need to embed the rest of the world. Like the workflows in Excel are so complicated. I can't even begin to explain how complicated they are.
Yeah.
And so people monetize that, which brings us to the whole new economy for our creators in Webflow and the no-code space. Instead of going and selling templates, instead of selling to working with clients, which is all great, you can actually sell your skill itself for the first time. So Nelson, instead of coming and saying, here's my template, go buy my template, he's like, here's how I did my template. Here's the particular way, and I'm going to go ahead and sell that to you on a one-off basis or on a Patreon subscription basis, because we have that in our system too. You can subscribe to creators on Restep. So we're talking about passive income like you've never seen before. Imagine if Hans Zimmer, for example, came along and said, I'm going to take my entire discography, I'm going to take it, I'm going to go ahead and drop it, for example, a full recreation of how I did my Dark Knight soundtrack straight into Restep. He could sell that for $10,000 and people would buy it.
He'd sell it for more. I mean,
He could sell
yeah.
for anything.
Yeah.
If Johnny Ive said, here's how I designed the iPhone, and I'm only for limited time, I'm going to go put my entire workflow there.
Yeah.
That would be the best thing ever. People would pay $100,000 for that. Now compare that, Nelson, to music, videos, any other industry. There is already an objective pricing model for it. I don't care if you spent your whole life writing that song. It's going to be $199 when you go on iTunes, because that's what the price is accepted across that industry.
Yeah.
But for a skill set, you cannot get a Restep anywhere outside of our engine, which means there's no hacking, no pirating, nothing. This is the single source of truth. So you can only get Hans Zimmer's whole, workflow in one place. So he can sell it based on what he thinks he is worth. And no one can argue about it. If you love Nelson's workflow and that, latest Ophelia project that he did, he's charging $1,000 for it. Then it's worth it. Or if Sako did Civilization 6 and he's doing PlayStation 5 right now, and he wants to release that, maybe he wants to charge it. Maybe he wants to make it free. Maybe he wants millions of followers so he can teach them. Maybe he wants to be an educator. There's so many opportunities that Restep is going to open for this community, like it's nobody's business, because we are sitting on a treasure trove of knowledge that no one has been able to tap into other than passively trying to compete in this noisy, saturated market. So instead of competing, why not just let the work speak for itself? Did you notice that in the extension, there was no like button? There was nothing superficial. You know why?
Thank God.
Because it doesn't matter. Exactly.
Vanity metrics. Thank God.
Vanity metrics. The only thing we show is how many times a Restep has been run. That's all that matters. If, for example, Matt Evans does a course, shout out to Matt. Thanks for sharing the link to the website. If Matt shares his course and it's run 10,000 times, and someone else shares something, it's only been run 100 times, I'm going to trust that a lot of people got value from what Matt actually shared
Yeah.
because he's running it. Why would you run something on your precious time, on your machine, using your bandwidth
True.
if it's not worth it?
Damn, dude. Okay, I hear the excitement, the passion. 4 years of your life. That's that's a good chunk of time, and I think you figured it out, and I hope it goes well. Restep.io, Sarkis is doing big things. If you're watching a recording of this, I definitely follow him. Check out his project Restep.io. Um, and let me go to the website again. Wait, how come I can't click on it?
And
Restep.io.
also, by the way, Nelson, to Nelson's to Matt's point, he just shared as well that this would be great for client onboarding. I mean, the
Yeah,
use cases are endless. Like customer support alone, the fact that you can just go send a link to your customer and say, "Here's how you do this," or if you want to onboard, or education, or documentation, which never has to be updated again, that would be incredible, right? And so for me, the real question when we talk to companies now is, where do you want to start? In the case of Wiz, for example, that's one of the first companies that we're onboarding right now as we speak. Shout out to the FinSuite team. We love them to bits. Wiz, essentially, they adopted a platform that only a handful of people actually know how to use. So there wasn't like a bunch of documentation that came with it. So now Restep comes in and it just takes over that whole responsibility. It becomes the face of your product essentially. And the fact that you can customize it and even add synthesis, that's something we
yeah,
didn't talk about. So those steps, for example,
yeah.
if you could take your voice and just plug in 2 minutes of your voice into Restep,
Mhm.
and now each step can be narrated in your voice automatically as it's going through. So
That's kind of scary for me because I heard McGuire behind my back when I was still
yeah,
working at Webflow. Um, just for fun, and I trust the guy. So
yeah,
just for fun, he trained 11 labs on my voice because my voice is on the internet, you
there you
know,
go.
and he made me say phrases that I would never say in my life. And I let my wife listen to it, my niece and nephew, and they're like, "This is weird," because it's you, but it has no soul because they know me personally.
yeah.
But for everyone else, they go, "Oh yeah, that's Nelson." So that still kind of freaks me out. But like, this is a cool idea. Restep is a really awesome idea, and the whole automation and how it's always learning. And now, big thing, at least, obviously, you're not going to tell us a price point for what you're selling to Wiz, the Webflow team, and whatnot. But like for us creators, that future, like what is that going to be like? How do we start to tap in and start making tutorials in our way?
So actually, I'm happy to answer the question. So price point wise, we've realized that with companies, especially established companies, like they're not looking for a pay as you go model. They want a fixed price.
Yeah.
So this could be ranging anywhere between for let's say a startup anywhere between $100 to $1,000 a month, depending on their scale. And then for let's say we're looking at a Xano or a Wiz or something like that, anywhere between 1,000 to 10K, depending on their scale and how far they want to go with this. Just for example, the GPT integration that we've done, that's a whole API separate,
Yeah.
that pricing that we
Yeah.
don't control. Like,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of factors here. We're essentially bringing the best of all these worlds into one place.
Yeah.
So half of it we're responsible for, the other half is all these other products. So just the synthesis, for example, that's a whole other API. So we're going to quote you exactly what they're quoting us, and you can integrate it from there. In terms of where we want to go with this, ultimately we want two models. One is you are an established company and we understand your scale, and we evaluate this once a year and understand, okay, you just doubled or tripled so in scale, and so we need to change the price, adjust it
Yeah.
fairly for you, and we always give you a notification ahead of time. And then we also want to, once we're already profitable, break even, hopefully we'll get there this year, uh, we want to also have a startup model where it's pay as you go. So we want to scale with you early on. And then we already know that if we can start at an early stage with a company, we're going to be with the company forever. Because unlike any other tool that you could be using, once imagine if There are 3-4 million people using Webflow. Like, imagine if all those millions of workflows are in one place. At that point, removing those resteps and get rid of that light is like basically saying, you know what, let's just get rid of all of Wikipedia.
Yeah.
You won't do that.
No.
So, so we become essentially a permanent member of your family, and that's why we have to be as fair as we possibly can. So, you don't ever feel intimidated by the fact that, hey, well, I'm becoming dependent on this third-party company.
Yeah.
And so by embedding us, we are dependent on you and you are dependent on us. And so we have to be fair to each other.
Yeah.
And that's what I love so much about the relationships we're building with companies today, is that,
So,
yeah,
what is the price point for us creators, for people like Matt Evans, for people like me who just love to teach what you can do with certain tools?
free. B2B for us, we make our money with the companies. We don't want to charge users. If you want to go ahead and, for example, sell your own courses, you want to do
Yeah.
subscriptions, take a small commission from that. It could be anywhere between 5 to 10%. But everything else is handled by our relationship with the company. So we have to make a choice. You cannot just be B2C and B2B. Like, you have to figure out which avenue you want to go in. Eventually, where we want to be is that it's just open for everybody, because the value that we actually provide, like if you're getting thousands of companies basically integrating Restep, the things that we can do with our API alone kind of makes us like the Steam store at that point.
I'm kind of getting the vibe. I'm trying to find parallels.
Yeah.
Like if I want to teach something real quick under 5 minutes, I can use Loom for free.
Yep.
And so I'm using their servers, I'm using their software, but then there's the upsell.
So I
So
guess wondering is, why is Restep doing that for free? Well, the other
because free is scary, because like when as we know,
yeah.
in the software world, free means I'm the product.
Nope, not in our case. In our case, the product is the company. The company pays us on a monthly basis, and it covers all of our costs, because Restep is not just the name of our product or the trademark or the brand. It's actually the name of a new format, like
Okay.
JPEG, like
Mm-hmm.
M4. A Restep is essentially a collection of inputs that you can send somebody through our engine.
Okay.
And so the size of a Restep is kilobytes. We've essentially devised the smallest format imaginable, because we're not transferring any data whatsoever. We're only transferring the key that you actually pressed. Why you pressed it, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's why we're completely GDPR compliant. No security privacy issues at all. It is running locally on your machine. When you go and click on a Restep, it's essentially taking that JSON script and saying, I want you to run this on my machine.
Yeah.
That's it.
Huh. Okay. Well, a lot of information to digest, especially if you're just coming into the stream. But yeah, I just keep it short and sweet. Thank you so much. It is kind of mind-blowing what is happening. It is a crazy dream that you had a couple years ago, and it's awesome to see how far it is has become. Yeah, this is going to be used. Shoot, man. You're going to be teaching, your thing can be teaching young adults or even teenagers how to use Blender and make an Oscar-winning movie. I mean, the movie Flow, I still need to watch it, but that thing was made on Blender and it won an Oscar. It's like, if you can teach
Yes.
that locally,
Yes. But Nelson,
my gosh.
much of the stuff how many things we haven't learned in our career because we didn't have the time, or we got that.
You're okay. Restep is the Matrix thing that goes in the back of your neck, and I want to learn how to fly a helicopter. Boom. Restep done.
You want to really blow your mind? Imagine now with Apple Vision Pro and all the AR, VR, and everything coming out, Restep entering the VR AR world where it can
How to cook a great lasagna.
There you go.
Put your hands here.
Exactly.
Now put your hand here. Nope.
But that's
Woo.
that. But the reality is, because of image recognition alone.
Yeah.
And Apple Vision Pro is phenomenal at that,
Yeah.
better than any device I've ever seen do that. You can identify a pot and a pan and everything else and associate a step with it
Yeah.
and just literally glow and say, now I want you to pick this up. Now I want you to peel that. Like it's very easy to do that. It's just you AR, VR, by the time we get there in the next few years, to the point where we can already integrate that industry will already be mature enough to work with us.
We're back
But
at video games, the first level of video games where it's like, press X to jump. Oh,
yeah,
okay, cool. And then once you press it, the game does progress. Whereas in the old days of Nintendo, you just have to fiddle around with the buttons to see what's gonna happen.
exactly. And I mean the where I'd like to end it on, man,
Yeah,
and thanks so much again for having me here, is the World Economic Forum actually predicted a few years ago. They announced this in their article that in the next decade, over 1 billion people have to reskill. They don't have a choice. And it
yep,
has to be done digitally, right? So our prediction is that it's going to happen through Restep because we have tested everything in the market. We've understood really why this hasn't happened before. Because if you just consider JavaScript alone, like every website is so messy. Like someone had to come along and do the dirty work and just say, okay, look, here's how we need to separate this from this. It's like I'm essentially a glorified, trash collector at this point, like just separating, plastics from whatever. It's like, okay, now a user clicks here and our system inputs that, like,
yeah,
but what would be really incredible is when you have that knowledge hive, essentially, right? You look at a product, like imagine going to Webflow for the first time, and instead of it saying, so here, nothing, like, what do you want to do? Instead, it brings up every possible thing you could do with Webflow.
yeah,
You would be blown away.
yeah,
Like, imagine going to Unreal Engine and it just brings up, like, hey, let's create a game together in 352 steps to perfection. You will not make a single mistake. I will hold your hand and guide you through it. You will pick up so many tools in 1 month that you never dared to even touch because there was that intimidation that you had every time. Like, why I'm a fool, I don't know what I'm doing, imposter syndrome, whatever.
yep,
So
all
my
of
hope,
that.
exactly. My whole prediction is that the things that took us 10 years to learn, we're going to send that workflow to a kid in Bangladesh and he's going to do it in a week. So
Nice.
if you really want to change the world, change the way they learn. That's it. And that's what you're all
Damn, just
about.
end it there, dude. End it there. That's the quote. My gosh, Sarkis, thank you so much for putting your time and effort into what you do for the community and making this new future of education. As you know, that I love educating. I love being an educator and inspiring people. And
You
I hope
inspired me.
that this, oh,
Thank
dude,
you. Thank you.
you're welcome, man. And if we can inspire more kids, I truly mean this. Like, if I could teach for kids, like, if this was a way to teach kids, oh my gosh, I'd be so happy.
Bro,
And
Alex
like,
sees the re-steps and he comes right in front of the computer and he already starts clicking around and doing it.
Alex is your son. Just want to let people know.
Yep, he's turning 3 in a month. And what's crazy to me is that even though he doesn't understand the whole technical side or even what Webflow is, he does understand a play button. He does understand that I can click here and something
Yeah,
happens. I can learn from this. And so the idea that one day our children are going to be learning our workflows exactly how we did it
yeah,
years ago and become masters at their, in the same way that my dad taught me Photoshop when I was 5 and held my hand and said, son, I want you to click here and then add an image and whatever. And that change set up my whole career because of that one thing that he did for me. Imagine if you could take that to your kids all around the world, learning all these tools and say, I'm going to be the guy who holds your hand through every cool thing you can imagine. Like, that to me is like
dude,
Legos. That's
that's
fun.
inspiring, dude.
Oh yeah.
Restep for Lego. How to build this building.
There you go.
Let's
And
do
so if
it.
there's any companies watching this stream, please reach out to Sarks at Restep.io, hello at Restep.io, go to the website, reach us on Twitter, anywhere we can help you and serve you. I would love to work with you. Thank you for everything, guys.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here and showing us this new future. I hope everything goes well. And if you launch let us know when you launch. I'll be following you on Twitter and everyone else. Yeah, follow on Twitter, Restep.io. Uh, yeah. Well, have a great day, Sarkis, and to everyone else in chat. Thank you all so much. And like I always said, every at the end of every stream, thanks for making the web beautiful together. See
Sure.
ya.
And